The starship Seeker drifted slowly into orbit around the blue-green planet. Captain Reed stood at the main viewport, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence as she studied the world below. This was the 3rd planet from the star, and according to old star charts, it had once been called Earth. "Scans complete, Captain," said Officer Trill from his station. His gray skin shimmered under the ship's lights. "The planet shows signs of past civilization, but no current technology signatures. Whatever lived here is long gone." Reed nodded. The Galactic Alliance had been mapping this sector for years, but this solar system had always been marked as restricted in the oldest star charts. No one knew why until now. "Officer Stone, what do your historical records say about this place?" Reed asked. Stone, the ship's archaeologist, looked up from her datapad. Her antenna twitched with excitement. "Not much, Captain. Only that a species called humans lived here 500,000 years ago. They'd reached space travel, but then vanished. No one knows why." "Another dead end?" asked Reed, disappointment clear in her voice. "Maybe not," said Trill, his fingers moving quickly across his control panel. "I'm detecting something unusual beneath the southern ice cap. It's big, and it's made of materials that shouldn't exist naturally." Reed's interest sparked again. "How big?" "Kilometers big, Captain, and it's perfectly symmetrical." Within hours, the Seeker had landed on the vast ice sheet. Reed led a team of 12 crew members across the frozen surface. They wore environmental suits to protect against the bitter cold. The wind howled around them as they followed Trill's scanner readings. "Here," said Trill, stopping suddenly. "It's right below us." The ice looked ordinary, but the scanner showed something massive underneath. Reed pulled out a small device and placed it on the ice. The device hummed, then sent a pulse of energy downward. The ice began to melt in a perfect circle, creating a tunnel that dropped straight down into darkness. "That's not natural," said Stone, peering into the hole. "The ice is over 2 kilometers thick, but it melted like it was designed to." Reed nodded, almost like it was waiting for someone to find it. They descended into the tunnel using gravity harnesses. As they dropped deeper, the walls of ice gave way to smooth metal that seemed to absorb their light. After nearly an hour of descent, they reached the bottom. They stood in a vast chamber that stretched beyond the reach of their lights. Stone touched the wall, and suddenly the entire chamber lit up with a soft blue glow. The crew gasped in unison. Before them stretched an underground facility larger than any they had ever seen. Rows of massive shapes covered in protective shells lined the chamber floor, disappearing into the distance. "Are those ships?" asked Trill, his voice hushed with awe. Stone walked to one of the shells and brushed away a layer of protective film. Beneath it was a hull made of material so black it seemed to swallow light. "This is a warship," she said, "and it's more advanced than anything in the Alliance fleet." As they moved deeper into the facility, lights activated automatically, revealing more ships. Thousands of them, each different from the others, but all bearing the same strange symbols on their hulls. Reed stopped suddenly. A pedestal stood in the center of the chamber. On it sat a small device that glowed with internal light. As she approached, the device activated. A hologram appeared above it, symbols rapidly shifting until they formed words in the Alliance standard language. "Welcome, explorers," the message read. "You have discovered humanity's final gift and greatest weapon. I am Guardian, custodian of the Sentinel fleet. Before you proceed, you must be evaluated." The hologram expanded, forming a humanoid shape with 2 arms, 2 legs, and a single head with 2 eyes. It looked at them with an intelligence that made Reed step back involuntarily. "Tell me," said the hologram, its voice echoing through the chamber, "why have you come to Earth?" "Why have we come to Earth?" Reed repeated the question. She looked at her crew, then back at the glowing figure. "We are explorers from the Galactic Alliance. We seek knowledge of past civilizations." The hologram studied them, its eyes seeming to look into their very souls. "I am Guardian. I have waited 500,000 years for someone to find this place." Stone stepped forward, her curiosity overcoming her caution. "You've been active all this time." "I sleep between periodic system checks. My purpose is to protect what humans left behind, and to evaluate those who might discover it." Guardian waved a hand, and the lights in the chamber brightened, revealing the true scale of the underground facility. The alien crew gasped. The chamber stretched for kilometers in every direction. Thousands of ships of different sizes and shapes filled the space. Some were small and sleek, while others were massive city-sized vessels with weapons that dwarfed anything in the Alliance fleet. "This is the Sentinel fleet," said Guardian. "Humanity's final creation and greatest achievement." Trill ran a scanner over the nearest ship. "This technology, it's beyond anything we've ever seen. These power readings don't make sense. Before I can share human knowledge with you, you must be evaluated," Guardian said. "The test begins now." The chamber around them shifted. The ships faded from view, replaced by a simple room with a table and several objects on it. "What's happening?" asked Reed, reaching for her weapon. "Do not be alarmed," said Guardian. "This is a simulation. Your physical bodies remain where they were." On the table lay several items: a small weapon, a medical device, a book, and a seed. Guardian pointed to them. "Choose one," it said. Reed looked at her crew, then stepped forward. She studied each item carefully, then reached for the seed. Guardian nodded. "Interesting. Now, tell me why." "Because it represents potential and growth," said Reed. "It can become food or shelter or beauty, depending on how it's nurtured." The room shifted again. Now they stood in what appeared to be a human home from long ago. Images lined the walls, smiling creatures with 2 eyes and varied skin colors. "These are humans," said Stone in wonder. "They look so simple." Guardian touched one of the images, and it came to life. A recording of a family gathering. The humans laughed and talked in a language the translator couldn't fully grasp. "They were not simple," said Guardian. "They created me. They built the fleet you saw, and when they knew they needed to leave, they made preparations for those who would come after." "Leave?" asked Reed. "They didn't die out. Where did they go?" Guardian's form flickered. "That information is restricted until evaluation is complete, but I can show you what led to their departure." The room changed again, showing a vast star map. One by one, stars began to blink out, not exploding, but simply disappearing from the map. "Humans detected this pattern 500,100 years ago," explained Guardian. "Something was consuming stars at the edge of the galaxy. Something ancient and patient. Humans called it the Void." Reed watched as the pattern of vanishing stars formed a clear line heading toward Earth. "They had 2 centuries to prepare," continued Guardian. "They built this fleet not for conquest, but for defense, a gift for future species who might face the same threat." "But why didn't they use it themselves?" asked Trill. "Because the fleet was incomplete, and because humanity made a different choice." Guardian's expression seemed almost sad. "I have shown you enough for now. The next phase of evaluation requires action rather than questions." The simulation faded, and they found themselves back in the actual chamber. But now, a door had opened at the far end, revealing a corridor bathed in blue light. "Follow the path," said Guardian. "What you find will determine if you are worthy of humanity's legacy." Reed looked at her crew, seeing the mixture of fear and curiosity on their faces. Then she took the first step toward the corridor, and the others followed. The blue corridor led Reed and her team deep into the Earth facility. The walls were lined with screens showing images of human history. They saw cities rising, machines evolving, and finally, humans reaching for the stars. Their technological growth was remarkable, Stone said, stopping to examine an image of an early human spaceship. "Look at how quickly they advanced." "Too quickly, perhaps," Guardian's voice echoed around them. Humanity's rapid development is what drew attention to Earth in the first place. The corridor opened into a large circular room with a platform in the center. As they entered, the platform lit up, projecting a three-dimensional image of the galaxy. "This is the galaxy as it appeared 500,000 years ago," said Guardian. Small blue dots appeared throughout the image. "These are human colonies. They had spread to nearly 50 worlds." "50 worlds isn't much," said Trill. "The Alliance has thousands." "Humans were young," Guardian replied, "but they were ambitious." The galaxy map changed, showing a dark shadow spreading inward from the outer rim. Stars within this shadow simply vanished. "They first detected the void here," Guardian continued, highlighting a distant sector. "At first, they thought it was a natural phenomenon. By the time they understood it was something more, it had consumed 300 star systems." Reed stepped closer to the map. "What exactly is the void?" Even humans did not fully understand it. They only knew it was drawn to advanced technology and energy signatures. And it was coming toward Earth. The map zoomed in on the Sol system. Around it appeared thousands of tiny red dots. "Humanity's response was to build," said Guardian, "the greatest fleet ever constructed, with technology centuries ahead of anything they had previously created. They called it Project Sentinel." "But they never used it," Stone said, remembering Guardian's earlier words. "No, because they came to understand something about the void. It hunted by following technological signatures across space. The more advanced the technology, the stronger the attraction." The map changed again, showing Earth with a massive energy signature that pulsed outward. Humanity realized that by building the fleet, they had made Earth the brightest beacon in the galaxy, Guardian explained. They faced an impossible choice: abandon the fleet or abandon Earth. "They chose to leave," Reed said softly. "Yes, but they did not simply flee. They executed a plan of extraordinary sacrifice." The map showed tiny ships leaving Earth in all directions. They scattered, deliberately regressing their technology to become invisible to the void. They seeded hundreds of worlds with their DNA, hiding their legacy in plain sight. Stone's antenna twitched with realization. "You mean some of us might have human DNA?" "It is likely. Humans were adaptable by nature. Their genetic code was designed to survive and evolve." Trill looked skeptical. "If they could build all this, why not just fight the void?" "They tried." The map showed a battle at the edge of the solar system. Human ships engaging with what looked like empty space. Ships simply vanished when they entered the darkness. The void could not be harmed by conventional weapons. It existed partially outside normal space. "Then what good is this fleet?" Reed asked. "Humanity's final breakthrough came too late to save Earth. They developed weapons that could affect the void, but not enough to stop it entirely. So they made their choice." Guardian's voice grew solemn. "They left the fleet behind, protected and hidden, a gift for future species who might face the same threat. And they themselves became the bait." "The bait?" Reed's 4 eyes widened in shock. "They left Earth in highly visible ships, creating a trail of technological breadcrumbs that led away from the galaxy core. The void followed. The map showed the shadow changing course, pursuing the human exodus into the darkness between galaxies." "Did they survive?" asked Stone. Guardian was silent for a moment. "Unknown. But their sacrifice bought the galaxy time minus 500,000 years of it." The map faded, and a door opened on the far side of the chamber. "The final part of your evaluation awaits," said Guardian. "You must decide what to do with the knowledge you've been given." The door led them into a smaller room filled with strange devices. In the center stood a pedestal with a clear container holding what looked like a small crystal. "This is the key to the fleet," Guardian explained. "Humans encoded the activation protocols into their own DNA. Without it, the ships will never wake." Reed approached the pedestal cautiously. "You're showing us this because the void is returning." The walls of the room transformed into view screens, showing real-time images of the galaxy's outer rim. Several stars winked out as they watched. Stone gasped. It's happening again. The void has completed its pursuit of humanity and has returned to feed, Guardian said. The Alliance has already lost 17 colonies, though you may not know it yet. The signals simply stop, and no one investigates too closely. That's impossible, Trill objected. We would have detected something that destructive. Would you? Your sensors are not calibrated to detect what exists partly outside normal space. Reed's face hardened. If what you say is true, we need this fleet. Yes, Guardian agreed. But there is a problem. The fleet requires human DNA for authentication, and humans are gone. Gone, but not entirely, Stone said, her scientific mind racing. You said they seeded their DNA. If we could find those traces. Guardian seemed pleased. Precisely. Humans left genetic markers on many worlds. The DNA has evolved and mixed with other species, but the core authentication sequences remain viable. Reed turned to her communications officer. Contact the ship. Tell them to prepare for emergency departure. Before the officer could respond, an alert sounded. Guardian's form flickered. We have a problem, the AI announced. Another ship has entered Earth orbit. Military configuration. The screens changed to show a large warship hovering above their landing site. It bore Alliance markings, but of a different design than Reed's vessel. Border Command, Trill said grimly. They must have tracked us. Captain Reed, a voice came through their communicators. This is Commander Wells of Alliance Border Command. You have entered a restricted zone. Prepare to be boarded. Reed looked alarmed. How is this a restricted zone? There's nothing in our charts. Some in the Alliance have known about Earth for decades. Guardian interrupted. They've kept it secret, waiting for the right moment to claim its technology. What do we do? Stone asked. Guardian's form stabilized. You must complete the evaluation and make your choice. The fleet cannot fall into the wrong hands. The screens changed again, showing a star map with 5 points highlighted. These worlds contain the strongest human genetic markers. You must retrieve samples from each to activate the fleet. Reed shook her head. We can't outrun a Border Command cruiser. You won't have to. Guardian waved a hand, and part of the floor slid open. A small, sleek ship rose from below. This is a human scout vessel. Its technology is beyond anything the Alliance possesses. The craft was beautiful. Black as space, with faint blue lines tracing its hull. It looked fast, even while stationary. You want us to steal it? Trill asked. Humans left it for exactly this purpose. When the void returned, their legacy needed protectors. Reed studied the ship, then nodded decisively. We'll do it, but not all of us can go. I'll stay, offered Trill. I can stall Border Command, make them think we're still exploring. That's too dangerous, Reed objected. All of this is dangerous, Trill replied, but necessary. Reed looked at her crew, scientists and explorers now facing a threat they never imagined. Stone, you're with me. We'll take the human ship. The vessel can teach you how to operate it, Guardian said. It has its own eye, though less complex than mine. As Reed and Stone approached the ship, its hull seemed to ripple, a hatch appearing where there had been only smooth surface. One more thing, Guardian called after them. The Alliance isn't the only faction seeking the fleet. Be cautious who you trust. Reed nodded grimly. Above them, they could hear the Border Command ship landing. Time was running out. If we don't return, she asked. Then I will wait, as I have waited for 500,000 years, Guardian replied. Humanity was patient. They knew their gift might take time to be claimed. Reed and Stone entered the ship, the hatch sealing silently behind them. The interior lit up with soft blue light, controls appearing beneath their hands. Welcome, said a new voice, younger than Guardian's. I am Navigator. Shall we begin? The human ship shot away from Earth like a bullet, leaving the blue planet behind in seconds. Inside, Reed and Stone marveled at the smooth acceleration. There was no sensation of movement despite their incredible speed. Border command vessels are attempting to pursue. Navigator informed them, its voice calm. They have no chance of success. Stone studied the control interface that hovered in the air before them. It responded to her thoughts more than her touch. This technology, it's reading our minds. Human technology evolved to blend with neural patterns, Navigator explained. The ship learns from you as you learn from it. Reed focused on the star map Guardian had shown them. We need to reach these 5 worlds quickly. Can you get us there? Of course. The first destination is already programmed. We call it Cedar World Alpha. The ship accelerated again, and the stars outside blurred. Then they were somewhere else entirely, a green-blue planet much like Earth, but with 2 small moons. How did we? Reed began. Humans mastered folded space travel, Navigator said. What you call jump drives are primitive approximations. They descended toward the planet, entering the atmosphere above a vast jungle. The ship guided itself to a small clearing near what appeared to be ruins. This was a human outpost, Navigator said. When they left, they planted their genetic material in the local ecosystem. Stone checked her scanner. There's a settlement about 5 kilometers from here. Primitive tribal society. Descendants of the original inhabitants, Navigator confirmed, modified by human DNA over generations. They approached the settlement cautiously. The inhabitants were tall, blue-skinned beings with 4 arms, but their faces showed subtle human characteristics, the shape of their eyes, the structure of their jaws. How do we get a DNA sample without frightening them? Reed wondered. Navigator produced a small device. This collector can work from a distance. Their genetic code has human markers we can extract without contact. They watched from the edge of the village as the locals performed what seemed to be a ceremony. The collector hummed softly, gathering invisible samples from the air. First sample secured, Navigator announced after several minutes. 4 more to collect. They returned to the ship and departed quickly. The next world was harsher, a desert planet where the human DNA had blended with reptilian natives. The third was an ocean world, and the fourth a low-gravity moon where the inhabitants had developed wings. Final destination, Navigator announced as they approached the 5th world. This one may be more difficult. Unlike the others, this planet showed signs of advanced civilization. Cities, satellites, even small spacecraft. They're close to achieving interstellar travel, Stone observed. And they're being watched. Reed pointed to a familiar shape in orbit. Border Command. Navigator's voice became urgent. They're following the same genetic trail we are. We need to move quickly. They landed in a remote area and made their way to a research facility on the outskirts of a city. According to Navigator, this location held the purest remaining human DNA samples. Inside, they found something unexpected, a laboratory where scientists were actively studying human genetic code. They know, Stone whispered. They know about their human ancestry. An alarm sounded. The door behind them slid open, and they turned to face a group of the planet's inhabitants. Tall, elegant beings with silvery skin. Their leader stepped forward. "We've been expecting visitors," she said in perfect alliance speech, "ever since our scientists unlocked the message in our genetic code." Reed stared in shock. What message? Coordinates to Earth, a warning about the void, and instructions for what to do when strangers came seeking our DNA. The leader held out a small container. "Take it. It's the pure sample you need." Stone accepted it cautiously. "You're just giving it to us?" "Why?" "Because our ancestors told us to." The message said, "When the time comes, trust those who found Guardian." The leader's eyes were solemn. "The stars have been going dark again. We've been watching. The void is returning, isn't it?" Reed nodded slowly. "Yes." "Then go. Border Command troops are already in the city. We'll delay them." As they hurried back to their ship, Reed asked, "How did they know about Guardian?" "About everything. Humans were thorough," Navigator replied. "They left breadcrumbs throughout the galaxy, some obvious, some hidden deep. As they lifted off, enemy ships appeared on the horizon." "Can we outrun them?" Stone asked anxiously. Navigator's voice held something like pride. "We can do better than that." All 5 samples secured, initiating return protocol. The ship accelerated, then vanished into folded space, leaving only confusion behind. The human ship emerged from folded space directly above Earth. Reed and Stone were shocked to see the situation had drastically changed during their absence. 3 massive Border Command battleships now orbited the planet, and smaller craft swarmed around the Antarctic excavation site. "They've launched a full invasion," Reed said grimly. "We've been gone only 2 days." 8 days in standard time, Navigator corrected. Folded space travel affects temporal perception. Stone clutched the container, holding their 5 precious DNA samples. "How do we get past them?" "We don't need to," Navigator replied. A hologram appeared, showing a different approach vector. The main facility entrance was merely one of many. Humans built backdoors into all their systems. The ship dove toward Earth's night side, staying out of sensor range of the Alliance vessels. Instead of heading to Antarctica, they plunged into the ocean near what had once been a place called Japan. Deep beneath the waves, a section of the seafloor slid open, revealing the hidden tunnel. The ship entered smoothly, water draining away as airlocks sealed behind them. They emerged into a massive underground chamber similar to the one they had first discovered. "Guardian," Reed called out as they exited the ship. The A's form materialized before them. "You succeeded." Its voice held genuine surprise. "We have all 5 samples," Stone confirmed, holding up the container. "But Border Command has invaded the main facility." "I am aware." "Commander Wells has been persistent in his questioning of your crew." Reed's face darkened. "Are they alive?" "Yes. He needs them to help understand human technology. But his patience grows thin." Guardian led them to a central chamber different from those they had seen before. In its center stood a circular platform surrounded by 5 pedestals. "Place each sample on a pedestal," Guardian instructed. "The activation requires all 5 genetic keys simultaneously." Stone carefully separated the samples into the provided receptacles. As she placed the last one, the pedestals began to glow with soft blue light. "Now what?" Reed asked. "Now you make the final choice," Guardian said solemnly. "Once activated, the fleet cannot be recalled. It will fulfill its purpose regardless of consequences." Reed hesitated. "Which is?" "To fight the void. To protect all life in this galaxy, even at the cost of some." "Some?" Stone asked, suddenly wary. "The weapons humanity developed operate on principles that affect the fabric of reality itself. Their deployment will save many worlds, but others in the conflict zone may be altered." Reed paced the chamber, the weight of the decision heavy on her. "And if we don't activate the fleet, the void will continue to consume stars. It will reach the galactic core within 50 years. Nothing will remain." A communication alert sounded. Navigator's voice came urgently. "Border Command forces have detected us. They're entering the underwater passage." Reed looked at Stone, then back at Guardian. "Will the fleet recognize us as allies? Will it protect my people?" "It will recognize all sentient life as worthy of protection, except those who ally with the void." "And Border Command?" "Wells?" "The fleet makes no distinction between political entities, only between those who preserve life and those who threaten it." Reed took a deep breath and stepped onto the central platform. "Activate the fleet. We've come too far to turn back now." Guardian nodded and raised its hands. Energy flowed from the 5 pedestals to the central platform, surrounding Reed in a cocoon of light. For a moment, she felt the vastness of human knowledge flow through her mind, their hopes, their fears, their final desperate gamble. "Authentication accepted," Guardian announced. The Sentinel fleet awakens. The entire chamber began to vibrate. Throughout the Earth facility, thousands of ships hummed to life. Deep beneath oceans, buried in mountain ranges, hidden in plain sight as small asteroids in the outer system, humanity's final gift to the galaxy stirred from its long slumber. On the surface, Border Command troops watched in shock as the ice of Antarctica split open and massive vessels rose into the sky. In orbit, Alliance battleships found themselves suddenly dwarfed by warships emerging from Earth's moon, from Venus's clouds, from the rings of Saturn. In the hidden chamber, Reed watched the awakening through Guardian's projections. There are so many, she whispered in awe. Humanity spent their final century building them, Guardian replied. Every resource, every mind, focused on one purpose. Stone pointed to a section of the display where Border Command ships were frantically attempting to flee. Will the fleet attack them? No, Guardian said. They are not the enemy. The fleet simply ignores them. The chamber shook more violently as their section of the facility began to move. What's happening now? Reed asked, bracing herself against a wall. This is not merely a storage facility, Guardian explained as the room around them transformed. It is the command center for the entire fleet. And now, it rises to take its place. The command center broke free from beneath the ocean floor, rising through the water like a mountain being born. Reed and Stone held onto control panels as the massive structure emerged into open air, water cascading from its sides. Impossible, Stone gasped, looking at sensor readings. This structure is over 20 kilometers wide. Guardian's form seemed stronger now, more defined. This is Sentinel Prime, the fleet's command vessel. From here, humanity intended to coordinate the defense of the galaxy. Through viewing screens, they watched as thousands of ships formed into perfect geometric patterns above Earth. Border Command vessels now looked tiny and insignificant, like insects next to whales. Your crew has been extracted from the Antarctic facility, Guardian informed Reed. They are being brought here now. Minutes later, Trill and the others arrived, escorted by floating drones. Trill looked battered, but his eyes widened in amazement as he took in the command center. Captain, what have you done? He asked, voice filled with wonder. What we had to do, Reed replied. The void is real, Trill, and it's coming. As if summoned by her words, alarms sounded throughout the command center. The main display shifted to show the outer edge of the solar system, where a patch of utter darkness had appeared. It's here, Guardian said. The void has followed the genetic trail, just as it once followed humanity. The darkness grew, spreading outward like spilled ink. Stars vanished as it expanded. The fleet is moving to engage, Guardian announced. Thousands of ships accelerated toward the anomaly, weapons systems activating. Reed stepped forward. I should command them. I activated the fleet. No, Guardian replied. The fleet has its own protocols. This battle will occur at speeds and in dimensions beyond your ability to comprehend. The first wave of ships reached the void. Instead of firing conventional weapons, they released pulses of strange energy that bent light around them. Where these pulses struck the darkness, it recoiled as if in pain. What are they doing? Stone asked. Using weapons that operate on multiple dimensional planes, Guardian explained. The void exists partly outside normal space. Humanity discovered how to reach into those other dimensions. The battle unfolded before them like a cosmic dance. Human ships moved with impossible precision, never colliding despite their numbers. The void fought back, tendrils of darkness lashing out and occasionally catching a ship, which would simply vanish. We're losing ships, Trill observed tensely. Yes, but the strategy is working, Guardian replied. The void is being contained and pushed back. After hours of battle, a change occurred. The darkness began to fragment, splitting into smaller patches that the fleet pursued relentlessly. Is it dying? Reed asked. No, the void cannot be destroyed completely, but it can be broken, weakened, forced into dormancy. Guardian's expression was solemn. This is only the first battle of many. As the remnants of the void retreated from the solar system, the fleet regrouped. Many ships showed damage, some had been lost, but the victory was clear. Reed turned to Guardian. What happens now? Now the true purpose of the fleet is revealed. Guardian waved a hand, and the display changed to show the galaxy with thousands of points of light. These are the remaining human genetic repositories across the stars. The fleet will establish bases at each one, building a network of defense. And the Alliance? Trill asked. Border Command is already sending messages to headquarters about the fleet. Politics are not my concern, Guardian said. But humanity left instructions for this moment too. A new hologram appeared, a human figure dressed in simple clothes. When it spoke, its voice was different from Guardian's, warmer and less formal. If you are seeing this message, then you've awakened the Sentinel fleet, and the void has returned, the figure said. We are humanity's final representative. We hoped this day would never come, but we prepared for it nonetheless. Reed stepped forward. Who are you? I am the collective memory of humanity, the figure replied. You may call me Memory. Guardian was built to test you. I was built to guide you. Guide us where? Stone asked. Memory smiled. To the truth. Humanity didn't simply disappear. We evolved. We transcended. The display changed again, showing a location beyond the edge of the galaxy. A cluster of unusual stars arranged in an impossible pattern. We're still out there, watching, waiting. The fleet is our gift to you, but it's also our invitation. When you're ready, when your species have united against the void, come find us. Reed stared at the coordinates, feeling the weight of 500,000 years of planning. They knew all along we would need them. They hoped you would, Memory corrected. Hope was always humanity's greatest strength. As Border Command and Alliance vessels cautiously approached Sentinel Prime, Reed made her decision. Send a message to all Alliance worlds, she told Trill. Tell them what we've found, what we've learned. Tell them it's time to look beyond our differences. She turned back to the display, watching the fleet take position throughout the solar system. Humanity's legacy would protect them now, and someday, perhaps, lead them to something greater.